Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Nathan James of Inglorious to the program today. How you doing, Nathan?
I'm very good, man. Thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time as well. New album, Heroin, coming out this coming Friday, September 10th on Frontiers Records. This is an album like I have never heard, an all-male band doing covers of female artists, and I think it's fabulous.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I can't believe actually I believe the first rock band to do a whole album of female covers.
Yeah. All right, obvious question. What inspired you to go the all-female route as opposed to a mixture?
I think we were on tour and we were doing this Alanis Morissette cover, Uninvited, which is on the album. And we were getting so many good kind of like reviews about it. People were loving it, coming away from the gig talking about it. And I love Alanis. I think she's one of the best. Jagged Little Pill is one of the best debut albums of all time. So I thought, okay, maybe we're onto something here. And then the other artists I kept thinking of were all women, and I thought, why not make it a whole album of female artists? And that's kind of where it all started. And then obviously the journey began of finding those 11 that we were going to cover. You know,
and you pared that down from about 50, right?
Yes, literally 50 artists, and I kept adding to a Spotify playlist. And every day I'd like delete one, but then like add 3, you know? So like it just kept growing and growing. And then I finally was like, okay, I've got to cut this down. And we lost so many greats that I really do hope we get to do one day. I was talking the other day and how I would love to do some like Blondie and some Stevie Nicks. And, you know, there's so many great female artists out there who I would love to cover.
Absolutely. I've got to toss out a couple to you. One of them is a little more obscure. She had an album come out in the late 80s and a couple of hits. Jane Child, do you remember her at all?
No, I don't know Jane Child. Who is she? I want to know everything about her.
Jane Child came out, like I said, she had the one album came out in 89 that had a couple of big hits. She was on MTV. The song was called Don't Want to Fall in Love. She had a fantastic look and the song was killing. The rest of the album was good. I highly recommend checking her out.
I'm going to definitely check that out after this interview. Jane Childs.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then the other one, she came out like in the mid-90s. Robin had a couple of big hits. Show Me Love. Do You Know What It Takes? She was another
I love her. Yeah. She's amazing.
Great
songs. Great voice. What an incredible voice.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, once you see that Jane Child video, you will like it. I guarantee you.
Awesome.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, though, is with each copy sold, you guys are donating £1 from the proceeds to a very special charity. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, after I had the idea of doing all female artists, I thought it'd be cool if we could really celebrate all women, not just those that are big famous pop stars. So I thought it was a nice way of giving back, and also charities like Women's Aid, which is the charity we've chosen, are doing such amazing work, especially during the pandemic, where Women's Aid are a charity that help women and young girls that are subjects to domestic abuse. So there's a lot more of that been happening in the last 18 months because people have found themselves at home with partners, whereas usually they'd be able to go to work or they'd be away. And now lots of people are finding themselves in very uncomfortable positions in their own homes. And I just thought it was worthwhile trying to raise some money for people that are trying to do some good in such a horrendous time.
Absolutely. And these are copies that are purchased through the band website, correct?
Yes. Every copy bought on our store is £1 from each copy will go to that amazing charity. So yeah, it's pretty. I hope it takes off. We're nearly sold out on the web store, which is amazing.
That's
so
awesome.
if people do want to get one, they've got to grab one quick.
Follow the social media links or go to inglorious.com, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if not, you can buy an album anyway, you know. But what I'd ask is if you buy it on Amazon or if you buy it on iTunes, if you've got a few dollars to spare, you know, just donate to a charity of your choosing. We have to come together in these times. And I felt really unlucky that I haven't worked for the last 2 years, but there's always so many more people worse off than you and dealing with such worse stuff. So yeah, if you feel like chucking a couple of dollars to an amazing charity, please do that.
Very cool. Want to talk about a few of the songs on this album. What a great diverse lineup you've got here. I mean, Queen of the Night, Whitney, opens up. What an ass kicker of an opener, you know?
Dude, it's a rock song. Like
It is.
it is an out and out rock song. It's got a big guitar riff, it's got big vocals, it's got a guitar solo. You know what I mean? It's venomous lyrics. The lyrics are really angry, and I like the song. I think it's one of the I think she is undoubtedly one of the greatest voices of the generation in the world ever. So it made sense to cover her for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased that it came out so cool. I actually went in a slightly different arrangement on the verses with the riff. It's not like the original riff. We actually kind of took a bit of inspiration from Mother's Finest, who are one of my favorite bands. Mother's Finest, who I would have loved to have covered on this album actually, because I just think they're incredible. Joyce is just one of the best singers of all time. So yeah, that's why that's on there, and it's got a bit of a harder edge to it, and there's a few stabs and a bit more screaming maybe than Whitney would have done. But yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. Midnight Sky by Miley Cyrus. When I saw this, it really reinforced what I was saying. I was talking to a coworker the other day, and we were talking about female teen vocalists. And I said, Miley Cyrus can bring it. I've seen her doing Black Dog live. I saw the clip of her doing Say Hello to Heaven from the Chris Cornell tribute.
Yeah.
It just blew me away. And when I saw you guys cover this, I'm like, yeah, of course. You know, makes total sense. And I played him both versions this morning, and he loved you guys's.
Awesome. Yeah, I think people think of Miley Cyrus and they think Hannah Montana, right? I think there's a lot of dudes out there who are like, no, she's still that little girl with the long hair and the famous dad, but she's a rock star. She is an out and out rock star. Yeah. Her attitude is what I find most amazing. She's a really loving, awesome person, and she does a lot of good for a lot of people, and she doesn't give a damn about what anyone thinks. So I that's rock in itself, you know. There's not a lot of that going on anymore, so yeah, you got to admire that.
And then you covered, of course, Avril Lavigne with I'm With You. And I love the story you told in an interview the other day about how you grew, your teens were in the early 2000s. And when you heard this song, you were at your prom, you know, dancing. I would have been the DJ at your prom playing those songs, you know. That's what I did back in that day.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, you know, when I remember vividly, you know, I live up here in Vermont. It's cold in the wintertime, and we ended a lot of high school dances in the wintertime with I'm With You, because it was a damn cold night those nights, you know.
Yeah, it's a great song, and again, it's not just about these women and this music. It's about them as people, and what Avril did for so many kids like myself who were different and who did have different tastes and who weren't listening to hip hop and R&B. She kind of helped us discover that, you know. She was like a gateway drug to like Korn and Metallica for me, you know, because I was a teenager at the time, so it was a kind of nice way into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I Am the Fire by Hailstorm. Probably, if I had to pick one, that would be my favorite Hailstorm track, and it's hard to pick just one. And Lizzie's performance on that song is completely over the top. How daunting was it? Because you nailed it, but how daunting was it to try and take that on?
Okay, this is what I had to do with this album. I'm aware that what we're doing is insane, because we're literally covering some of the best singers that ever walked the planet. And Lizzie is at the top of that list for me, with Ann Wilson. You know, like those are the pinnacles of rock vocals. And I had to literally tell myself when I went into the studio that I'm never going to make this better than the original. And as soon as I accepted that, and as soon as I thought, you know what, it's never going to be better because they're perfect anyway, I could just enjoy singing it. And I think that's what you can kind of hear on these songs, is that we're having the time of our life, like performing it, recording it. It was like doing karaoke in your favorite bar after 10 pints. Do you know what I mean? It was a great feeling recording this album. And after the year we had, it felt like therapy almost doing it. So yeah, I didn't feel any pressure singing these songs because they're not supposed to be comparisons. I'm telling everyone now, I'm not covering them because I want to be better than them. I'm telling them because I love them and I think the songs are awesome.
Cool. Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper. That is just quintessential early 80s pop, you know.
Oh, it's so
Perfect.
good.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite artists of all time as well.
Yeah.
She's written some of the best songs on the planet, and
Mhm.
I think I love her as a person. I think she's got an amazing spirit, and in interviews, she's just so cool. And none of these women care what people think. You know,
Yeah.
they're all absolute badasses, and I think that's to be admired. Especially Cindy. She really, um, she talks about having a tough time at the beginning of the career because of the way she looked and because of her voice, her speaking voice. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's amazing. She proved everyone wrong, and yeah, and her music is still very relevant today.
Definitely. And then you talked about how you were covering Alanis with your live shows, and I love the fact that you did Uninvited. To me, that song, the first couple times I heard it, it was so dark, but yet at the same time, for me, the way it was orchestrated was almost Kashmirish, you know, by Zeppelin.
Yeah,
That kind of vibe.
and and it's no surprise that I'm obviously a big Zeppelin fan, a big Plant fan. So we did kind of the same in Barracuda with the heart cover, because that middle section I kind of went off on a Robert Plant
Hmm.
crazy vocal moment, like the kind of thing that him and Jimmy would do live. So yeah, I'm highly inspired by that. And if it felt natural in the studio, we just did it. And
Sure.
on that Alanis song, it is atmospheric. It's a moment that it starts so quietly and you want everyone to listen, and then you just want them listening so intently that when it kicks in, they really feel it. And I think that song definitely does that.
Yeah. Yeah. Great tune. You know, we talked about the diversity of artists, you know, everybody from Tina Turner to Whitney Houston to Hart to Miley to Joan Jett on here. I understand your dad sort of influenced your musical taste, you know, as you were growing up. You know, Guns N' Roses, then he got grunge and was playing Body Count and everything else in between. Must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I didn't appreciate it till I got much older, and I kind of discovered my rock voice, I suppose. The first CD I ever got was actually Queen's Greatest Hits,
Wow.
and I must have been about 12 years old. And I remember hearing Freddie for the first time and thinking, how the hell is he doing that? I didn't understand what he was doing, and how I was a 12-year-old prepubescent boy and I couldn't sing that high, and
Yeah.
he was a 40-year-old dude and he could. I found it mind blowing.
Mm.
So yeah, I've always been obsessed with those things, and luckily at that time I was kind of learning to sing and learning about my craft, and then I really discovered my love of rock when I was about 18 years old, after
Mm.
kind of thinking of my dad as being really uncool, and now I'm raiding his collection. You know, he's got the most incredible selection of vinyl
Yeah.
of anyone I've ever met. So yeah, I'm very lucky in that respect. My mum is terrible with music. Has no real taste, but my dad makes up for it.
That's awesome. Now, we've mentioned Zeppelin, you mentioned Queen. I want to hear a little bit of how you ended up in Paul Rogers' dressing room along with him, Brian May, and Jimmy Page. That must have been mind blowing.
The worst thing about that is that they asked me to take a picture of them all, and I had to stand there with my phone and take this picture. And I'm not kidding, I was shaking like never before. You know, I'm taking a photo that may not ever happen again. You
Yeah.
know, like it's just such an insane situation. But I'm friends with Paul Rogers' daughter Jasmine.
Okay.
And I went to see the show at the Albert Hall, and then she said, "Oh, do you want to come and see my dad?" And I was like, "Obviously." Like it's literally without him, I wouldn't be able to sing. There's a kind of group of those guys that have pretty much taught me without never meeting me. And to walk in that dressing room and see Paul Rogers eating a roast dinner, and then walking around the corner and Jimmy and Brian were there, it was just incredible. And they were so complimentary. I told them at the time, we just had our second album go to the #1 in the rock chart here in the UK. And so they like congratulated me on it. They asked for a copy of it each, so I gave them a copy. It was just the coolest interaction, and yeah, something I'll never forget. Actually,
That's excellent. And the other thing I've got to ask you about, you got to do Burn live on stage with Glenn Hughes.
I know.
I mean, pinch me moment or what?
I I still can't believe that happened. And if you obviously Burn's a long song, right? It's like
Yeah.
7 minutes or something.
Yeah.
It went in a flash. Like I don't even remember what happened. I don't know if I sung the right words. I don't know if I was in tune. But I remember him turning to me and doing that face he does when he's playing the bass, and just thinking, "Wow, this is what it must be like to be David Coverdale at some flat jazz." You know, like it was just the most incredible feeling. And Glenn's become a real friend and a mentor to me, and someone that I'm really lucky to have in my life. And if anyone follows him online, he just radiates positivity. He's just the most wonderful man.
Yes. So going forward with Inglorious now, the album comes out Friday. You've got some dates lined up. How many of these songs are going to make it into the live set list?
I think 4. And we're going to do the Miley song. We're going to do Barracuda, which we've been doing at the festivals the last couple of weeks, and people have been going crazy for it. It's just got an amazingly instantly recognizable riff, right? As soon as you start the riff, people know the song. And then we're going to do Time After Time in a little acoustic section. And there's one more. I can't remember the last one. Oh, Alanis, obviously, because it's heavy. And actually live, we team that up. I was obviously in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra for many years.
Yes.
We do at the end of the Alanis song, we actually go into a cover of a Sabotage song. And do a little Sabotage guitar solo at the end to show off my amazing guitar player, Danny.
Nice. Excellent. It is a fabulous album, Nathan. Like it's unique. And you guys do all the songs incredibly well. I can't see how anybody that is a fan of any of these artists couldn't listen to this and be blown away. And like I said, I played a couple of them for my coworker this morning, and he was amazed at how you guys have done them.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Very cool. I want to hit you with just a couple of quick. I always end with silly questions. I'm just going to hit you with a couple of them here. If you could speak any language instantly, what language would you pick?
German.
German?
Yeah, okay. I'd pick German because a lot of my adult life I've worked in Germany and toured Germany a lot, and I have no idea what they're saying. So it would be really handy for work purposes to know what they're saying.
All right. When you go out on tour, do you travel light or heavy?
Heavy.
Heavy?
Like lighter than a few years ago, but it's still ridiculous. I'm quite a big dude, so all my clothes are big, so that's my excuse.
Okay. What is one essential item that you have to throw in your travel bag, though, before you can leave the house?
My humidifier. I don't leave home without it. It's in every dressing room, in every hotel room. I'd have it on the tour bus if I could. I love it.
Got to keep the voice in shape.
Yep.
Last one, and this is the one we have the fun with. If they were to make a biopic of your life, what actor would you have play you in the movie? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Well, I'd like it to be played by Chris Hemsworth.
Okay.
But it'd probably look more like Chris Hemsworth in the Avengers Endgame movie. I don't know if anyone saw that, where he was like kind of out of shape and drunk most of the time.
Oh, perfect. I love it. Nathan, I thank you very, very much for taking the time to talk with me today. Once again, talking with Nathan James, Inglorious. The album is called Heroin, coming out this coming Friday, September 10th on Frontiers Records. If you can get it from the band's website, £1 goes to the Women's Aid charity. Don't forget that as well. Just a fabulous album and tribute, really, of some fantastic female voices.
Thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it.
Take care, Nathan.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.